Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the eSports Report, presented by the Xbox One. Of course, today we have an Xbox One to give away at some point during today's show. And another good point. Every time we come back from commercial breaks, we're kind of looking at Twitter and replying to a couple of things people are saying.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying, oh, well, is Messi not the greatest player to grace the game? He's never won the World Cup. You guys misunderstand again. The point we're making is dynasties.
And it's not everyone. It's not everyone. It's the few that.
It's a couple of people that maybe misunderstand.
Yeah.
I'm in a very volatile mood today.
You are. Trust me. I do it all day.
Crazy. But it's replying to kind of the dynasty a team has, not individual players. People saying, oh, Scump's never won a world championship, but he's the best player in this game. Okay.
We're talking dynasty. What it takes to be a dynasty is a team. You
need to win a world championship to be compared to some of the best teams to ever grace any game, any sport, doesn't matter. But we digress again. So back to performances at X Games. X Games recap, of course, Black Ops 2 tournament as well starts today. We're going to give you the rundown on who's playing, what the maps are, who's cast. We got everything. It's going to be a good show, don't worry. But we move on to Rise Nation. Another team. Just didn't perform well. I actually had them getting double first rounded.
Yeah,
I'll be honest. They did better than I thought.
Congrats. You beat out TCM, who went 2-8, and NB went 4-8 and didn't win S&D.
Woo! Good
rough
time.
spot to be in.
Obviously, they go 1-2 in series count and a 4-11 in map count. That's rough. We'll take a look at some of the stats that they had throughout the X Games. Hardpoint 1 and 3, score difference of 27 points. Overall team KD is 0.86. I mean, that's just abysmal. S&D 2.2. I mean, S&D was that one game where they needed to win. If they're going to have any chance of winning a series, they need to win both.
Guess what? Those two S&D wins, both against NB.
There you go.
In that best of 7.
Tells you a lot. Team KD actually positive at 1.06. CTF, they were positive at 1.03, but losing record 1 and 2. Uplink, the big factor here, 0-4. They could not win at Uplink at the X Games.
Yeah.
Team KD of 0.83. It just all went wrong.
Something to point out, Ben, is if Rise doesn't get those 2 free S&D wins against NB, essentially, when you look at their maps the weekend, it's pretty abysmal.
Yeah.
Like
I agree.
1 and 3 at Hardpoint, 1 and 2 in CTF, and 0 and 4 at Uplink, so a combined 2 and 9 in respawns. And then the 2 S&Ds they won were up against Envy, who went a combined 0 and 3 or 4 on it across the weekend.
Got a little bit lucky.
Yeah, I think
they
that's
really
the best way to put it.
They got
stuck
very
it out.
lucky.
They beat. What did they beat them? I think Game 5 was 6-3. So it wasn't anything spectacular for them. Yeah, they won a series, and Nezle was hyped after it, so I'm happy for him. But we looked at the stats of this team, and the biggest question for them going into the X Games was, can they outslay their opponents?
Only in 18% of their maps they outslayed. That is
18%.
Ridiculously low.
18%.
Now what's weird is going into the X Games, you can't look at a player like Chino, right? Who you expect to be putting up big numbers. It was a very
They built this whole team around Chino. The Rise Nation after champs said, we are building our team around Chino.
Is it fair to say this was his worst event?
I definitely think it's in the running. I mean, I haven't got to see the stats of his other events, but
0.8 overall KD from someone who you're used to seeing going positive and you're used to seeing killing everything. In Hardpoint, when the game first came out, he was considered by a lot of pro players as the best Hardpoint player in the game.
He was taken by storm, really.
He was obliterating people.
Yeah.
0.75 Hardpoint KD. Tough.
Fell apart in that game mode.
Like, it tough. Very tough.
And then, oh gosh, I didn't even see the S&D stat.
It gets worse. It gets worse. We highlighted TP with a poor S&D KD. It was 0.36?
0.36.
This, slightly better, but a 0.56 S&D KD. So it's not even as if he was bringing something. Like, sometimes, if the play plays badly, maybe they play badly, maybe in just respawn, but in S&D they can kind of pick things up. I mean, this was just across
There was
the
just
board.
nothing. There was just nothing there for him.
It was just a really bad weekend for him. I mean, he was a top performer for Rise during the regular season.
Yeah.
But when it came to X Games,
that goes back to it. They stuck those 2 wins against Envy. They won map 2, 6-1. TP went 0-7. They won map 3, 6-3. And TP was still about like 2-8, I think. Chino had a 0.56 KD across it that weekend. If they face any other team,
they lose.
Done.
Out.
Done.
Yeah. They get double first rounded, which is
what I expected.
Right. So, it's a good point. A little bit of lady luck on their side, which is weird to say considering they play so low. But
Chino goes from being top performer across all Season 2 for this team to then going to the event that really matters. And this is something that Adam Apicella was talking a lot about, where we did our Season 2 regular season awards. there was a little discrepancy where, is it the Season 2 awards overall or Season 2 regular season? Obviously, it was just regular season. If you were to go back now and do awards and look at the best player for this team, yes, he was the best in online, but then you take into account his performance now at this LAN, and now you have to start thinking, was Neslo their best overall performer throughout all of Season 2?
I would say yes.
I agree.
I think he was.
And I think that's a big point why Adam brought it up, is because, I mean, it was still up for grabs. Like, let's say Optic Gaming doesn't win this event, and now a player like Temp, like Elevate, just absolutely just demolishes and wins gold because of Temp's performances. I think Temp takes the MVP over Scump for Season 2. Like, overall, even though, because Temp's stats were right there with Scump's, but I think it came down to the consistency and really just the
But if you win
objective.
gold.
Yeah, but now you win gold, you carry your team to that victory, that changes the awards.
I agree.
I think that if you look at Rise's personal team MVP, prior to the Season 2 championship at X Games, Chino wins hands down. After, I think Neslo takes it.
I mean, we'll take a look at some of Neslo's stats. Highest KD and Slay rating for the team.
Yeah.
I mean, 1.64 S&D KD. Only in 3 maps, but still, we knew he was a good S&D player. He didn't disappoint. Highest of any player at X Games.
I mean,
1.64 in Search.
I think they played 4 maps overall, whatever they wound up playing. Yeah, so, I mean, it was...
Plus, 2 of them were against Envy, who had 1 player driving a donut. So take that again with a pinch of salt. But still, he was the top performer in both the series against Envy and Elevate. I mean, and then during like do or die kind of games, you know, you have to kind of step up and play, and he really did. We have a pod for you guys. It's Rise versus Team Elevate. It's a Detroit Hardpoint, and we kind of talked about the struggles in Hardpoint for Rise. They go 1-3 overall. It was pretty tough.
All we talked so much about on this show, or prior to this show starting, was can they match the slaying power of their opponents? And this is a perfect example of kind of the story of their weekend, especially in the respawns, only outslaying their opponents 18% of their maps. Well, guess what? They went 2-9 in the respawn game mode. I would put 80% of the reason why they didn't win those maps in their slay, because of their weak slaying power.
I mean, it was abysmal. I mean, in this game alone, they go -23. Yeah. Like, you can't do that, especially against a team like Elevate. You know, they have players like Temp, Classic, Slack, and TJ who can all just destroy you. But going into this map, for me, there was no way Rise would win it. No way.
Yeah.
There was more chance of a pick flying across X Games.
Wow. That's quite the analogy.
It is.
Someone I want to point out, and we didn't talk about enough with this Rise team. We looked at him with Wheats. So this game, 7-1. Overall, your thoughts on Wheats? You said earlier you want to talk about him a little bit later on.
Yeah.
Him and Pac-Man have gone back and forth. Wheats, I feel like hasn't had a horrible AW.
No, I feel like he's just been vastly unlucky. Like, the events and series he plays well in, and just someone always seems to be underperforming for him, which is just tough. I mean, Chaps, he played well. Yeah. He's got a somewhat decent placement, I guess. Better than a lot of people that you expect to do better than him, but
unable to do so,
you know, he's just stuck in that horrible position there. And this was a tough game for Rise, don't get me wrong. You know, you're going up against Elevate, who I think a lot of people expect to do well. I mean, I had them placing in the medals as you did, so we kind of knew that they were a good team. But you just need to kill things. And again, you kind of look at that thing that we were talking about earlier on with the objective plays not killing things. All those teams have vastly underperformed.
And now let's take a look at the score right now in this game. Yes, we're only 2 hills in, but it's 49-40. Rise over Elevate, and look at the slaying. Like, look at the kills department. Rise is, even if not positive overall, I believe they're positive overall, mainly in part due to Wheats' positive 5 performance. So, like, when they're reaching their slaying power they need to, it's tied.
Right.
But they can't keep it up all game. And that goes to show later on. Like right now, we're 2.5 minutes into the game. I'll spoil this aspect of it. They're positive, if not even. I think they're positive like 4. They end this game negative 23 in the slaying department. Like, so it just falls off. Maybe Elevate's a little, maybe start a little slow. I don't know what's going on, but
I mean, Elevate's not really starting slow. Classic, what, 8 and 10, Temp 10 and 8. Slack's positive, TJ's positive. It isn't so much a. I don't know. It's weird. Maybe
I just think they just
the
fell
Rise
far.
just lose composure,
Or they just like, let's take a look through the rest of this game, see if there's a certain hard point where really things switch. That's why I love when COD_stats does like the hard point breakdown, where they show really what hill was the detriment for either of these teams. Like on retreat, a lot of times when teams face Optic Gaming, it'll be that bottom dirt hard point because that's where the battles just take over, where Formal just shuts people down. And I think there might be one of those here in this game. Like as you just saw, that garage hill.
Yeah, they've lost a lot.
Rise got 4 seconds on it, and Elevate really dominated it. Like okay,
this one as well. Like 30 seconds in, this is really the first time you've seen Rise get a little bit of control in the hard point.
Yeah, so it comes down to, and now we've said it with each team, Ben, and we'll say it again. Rise Nation. Do you see team change happen? You do, right? I said that too. Guess what Max said? Max said he thinks this team will stay together.
He's an absolute idiot. That's why we.
And I'm not trying to just throw him under the bus, but we spoke about this on the show yesterday. I don't see how this team sticks together at all. And the funny thing is, we're doing that throwback tournament, and now this the TK squad of old was mentioned.
Right.
A lot of people predicting this TK squad to wind up making roster changes. You have Fury and Neslo on this team.
Imagine if they win the Black Ops 2.
Like, if they win that tournament somehow, and they're just like, we love playing together, do they just form back together? I mean, it's a thing that could possibly happen.
It's out there, but hey, I mean, you never know. I mean, of course, the complexity team. We'll touch on the Black Ops 2 thing a little bit later on. But that isn't as crazy of an idea as I think people may think.
I know, and I start laughing because imagine if the $5,000 showdown of Black Ops 2 like tournament winds up actually making an AW team come back together. Like they realize, like, hey, we're a good group of friends. We love playing together.
Right. I mean, at that point, you have to ask the question: would Theory go back to TK?
Is he still in the house, or he's moving to the house? Right? He's moving to this week.
Yeah. I know a player a lot of people look at for TK is Apathy. Does he go back?
It's such a weird spot. Now, I've been trying to think, Ben. Since this game, since Ghost, have we ever had a moment where roster mania, we know it's going to happen, but it's ever been this weird? And by weird, I mean so many variables to it in regards to how like now X Games is done, but X Games is one of those variables. How are teams going to perform? Now it's also, there's a break here. How's that going to affect these teams?
Right.
Also, Season 3 not started yet, so it's still a lot of things are open. Then also you added the Season 3 relegation, where a lot of these teams who would kind of give some of these new guys a chance, or even players like Aches, Aqua, all those guys are all in that one. Those are all major variables for this roster mania. It's not just like, okay, season ended, here comes the roster shuffle. Now it's like, you have all these things to think about. I can't think of a time where there were so many different things that came into account.
Plus what's weird is it's like one dominant team right now. So it's like everyone is trying to make that formula to try and beat success.
How many roster manias have we had now where teams are trying to make that formula?
Right, and that's what I was going to say. You go back to like EG Call, like those days. Like, Aches obviously did that famous post of, like, everyone making roster changes, you're all idiots. Like, when you can understand team chemistry is success. And it's funny, because Up to Gaming is now in a very similar position to what that Call EG team was, where they just sat there like, all right, well, everyone else is basically fighting for second place. And you have players like Karma and Krim on Optic now, and it's like, well, are they really going to throw away something like that? No, absolutely not. They know how to be success. Which, again, is interesting when you go back to Aches and Clay. They're two players who have that same mentality, and they know what it's like. They know how Krim and Karma play.
Yeah.
Is that the kryptonite? Is that the way of beating them?
It's at a point now in AW where it's like, you would consider that a risk, would you say? Like making that happen?
There's still a couple of big tournaments. But at the same time, what you're going to do is sit and know that you're not going to win first?
Yeah, like Killer was saying, like, tournaments, the only people making money from these tournament prize winnings right now is Optic, because they're just dominating first.
Right.
It gets to a point where it's like, let's just go for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you go with the safe pick of, like, let's try to work this Denial team out that we saw success with the champs, or do you say, we can go with a team that is either going to make or break the rest of this year of AW for us, and by make, I mean we can be the ones who shut down the Optic Gaming dynasty.
Right.
People were saying, I saw a really big Reddit post the other day, Reddit thread post, where a guy was like, hey, I'm a big fan of Denial. I haven't been following the scene so much, like, since he's been so busy. Now I'm coming back into things, and now Denial's struggling so much. What has happened? And the first comment, which had like 100 upvotes, was, for the first time in the history of COD, this is what the person said, and apparently a lot of people agreed, the #1 team didn't win COD champs. He said Denial wasn't the #1 team, and then he made this whole long post breaking down how they were just on that weekend. Attach was just playing out of his mind. The rest of that squad was filling the roles they needed. And from what we've seen, yes, Denial did so well, but you could almost tell that feeling too from the rest of the scene, where even after Denial won, people didn't refer to them as the best team. Clearly, people were still saying, you know, Optic Gaming's right there, Optic Gaming's there, Optic Gaming can still give them a run for their money. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's an interesting thing to look at, where in history, can you blatantly say, hand on your heart, the best team in AW won champs? Do you think Denial was the best team
going into the event? No.
No. Right?
No, definitely not. Now, no, I don't think there's a single person out there that we didn't have Optic winning champs.
Now, going into Black Ops 2 World Champs and Ghost World Champs, were respectively Farico and Cole,
without a doubt,
were they the two best teams?
At the time, there was not a shadow of a doubt that the best teams won at those events. Now, yeah, you make a good point. Not sure exactly how.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's tough to make that kind of argument. I understand what they're saying.
It's just once again, another one of those interesting things to think about. And now, in regards to this game, you look at things. Earlier on, tied game, now a full minute lead for Elevate. It's starting to wind down here. Now let's take a look again back at overall the slaying ability of these two teams. Chino, 30 and 37, 27 and 34 in theory, even from Weeds, and then negative 12 from Nesco.
It just all went wrong.
Overall, there's that negative 20 we talked about.
But there's the thing. The one bad game Neslo has, that's how much of an important role he really had. I mean, it's a tough spot to be put in, but
and I mean, I think we can also kind of look at this team, and it's just I don't see how they stay together. I don't see how Rise stays together. No, I don't think that's a thing.
I think Max is silly. Of course, that now leaves us halfway through, so we have 4 more teams to kind of recap their performances at the X Games. Of course, TK, Elevate, FaZe, and of course, Optic Gaming.
Yeah.
For now, though, we're going to head to a quick commercial break. One more time, we're going to look at TK, who massively overperformed a lot of people's expectations at X Games. Be right back.